Welcome to the Profitable Hypnosis Business Summit, where top experts share their kick-ass money-making strategies and success habits. Are you ready to turn your hypnosis business into a business that creates cash flow and gives you the life you want? Well, you get to hear from influencers and entrepreneurs like you who are excited to share their strategies they've used to create successful businesses. This episode of the Profitable Hypnosis Business is offering the secrets of what to do before you ever pay for advertising. And thank you so much for being here with us today, Jason.
Hey, so good to be here, Karen.
I'm Karen Bird, your host from Women's Hypnosis, performance mindset coach, and you might know me as the Attitude of a Champion trainer. And I put together this online event to bring you some of the best experts from around the world who are going to be sharing with you their number one secret on how they successfully and consistently bring in more clients, see more success, and kick ass in their business and their lives. And I am so thrilled to interview Jason Linett from Work Smart Hypnosis, who is a leader in our field and what I like to call him a marketing guru. I know he's heard me say that before. Again, thank you so much for being here with us. And Jason's going to tell us a little bit about what to do before you ever pay for advertising. A little bit about Jason is he's an international speaker, author, and hypnosis business systems pioneer. He's a pioneer of consistently reliable hypnotic business systems used by hypnotists around the world to build a financially successful practice, which exactly is what we're talking about on this summit. While other hypnotists talk about building a six-figure hypnosis business, Jason concurrently runs 3 separate six-figure hypnosis businesses. He's an international speaker, best-selling author, and his programs have been used by tens of thousands of students worldwide. I can't wait to get started and pick your brain about some of these things. So Jason, tell us a little bit about what this key or this secret is that we get to do before we ever pay for advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for that intro. Very nice of you to share that. It's the goal of helping hypnosis practitioners around the world to sell premium services, and premium in terms of the quality of the client, as well as the financial aspect of them coming in. And the goal is always to help your prospects, your potential clients, sell themselves into your services, that you've had that moment before where you're recognizing that this person is clearly the expert. And even before a sales offer is made, you're already sold. That's the goal here. And I'll tell you, part of the inspiration of sharing this is that so often, whether it's a new student of mine or whether it's someone I meet in our amazing community, they go, oh, I just need to find someone to help me with Google Ads. Or, hey, I looked online at Facebook and I was thinking about paying for some Facebook ads. Do you know somebody? And my answer, there's 2 things to sort of throw in here before I get into the meat of what I'm sharing here. The first is that there are some people, and I used to be one of them, who would get out and boast that here's what I did my first couple of years in hypnosis, and I didn't pay for advertising, as if that was something to be proud of. And in some way, it may be. But here's where I was wrong. To look back to my story, I was out there doing the work of going to all these different networking events, going out and giving a ton of talks. And the thing about money is that you can spend it and then you could earn it back. Mm-hmm. Well, time is different. And I was spending all sorts of time back in the day of driving to this meeting, preparing for this presentation. And that time expense, well, time is something that you don't get back. Once the time is spent, it's done. So I'll kind of kick things off today with this kind of, if I knew then what I know now message, that there's something to be said about those who would boast that, oh, I don't pay for advertising. I would say that's a little bit misleading, because if you can get your ideal message in front of the ideal audience at the ideal time, that's where this all takes care of itself. We can start to automate things in such a way that we're only going to our office when there's already a full day of people that are booked, and we didn't have to go through all those hoops of selling it ourselves. Mm-hmm. So it's where I can comfortably say, as we're recording in 2020, similar to last year and this year, I am spending more for paid advertising right now than I ever have in my life. And as that number goes up, the income goes up substantially. But back to the student who's going, I need to pay for Google ads, I need to pay for Facebook ads, and those are absolutely viable. I do, and I teach them both. But what it comes down to is you need to be ready. to actually do that. There's some assets that have to be in place. Otherwise, hey, we're hypnotists. Let's throw some metaphors at this. We could have every ideal dart to throw, but there still isn't yet the dart board to catch them. So the whole message that I'm here to share today is that of let's make that dartboard a little bit more like a magnet, that it's now drawing in the ideal people, and even better, making them stick even stronger. So this way, when we eventually, let's phrase it this way, graduate to the level of having to pay for advertisement to put our message in front of the right people at the right time every single time, now it's actually going to work for you. So there's a bit of a hit list of things that I'll share here, that these are those things you want to be looking at. And then once you have all these assets in place, then absolutely spend that money on the ad spend.
So these are the magnet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready.
So a couple of things, and let's kick off with this one first. And let me give credit to a friend of mine that I learned from last year. He works a lot with people in the speaking industry, and I'll give him full credit for the quote. His name is Pat Quinn. He's out of the Milwaukee area. And he says that the ultimate sales conversation begins in the language of the consumer in the problem state, and it ends in the language of the expert in the solution state. So think about that difference for a moment. And this is something that I see as I have people in my business communities online, or even just as I interact in different groups, where we're using a lot of expert-based language, and respectfully, your client doesn't yet know what they're shopping for.
Right.
And the best way to describe this is that years ago, I developed a bit of a bad habit, and it's a silly one. I kept spraining my back. I kept picking up things incorrectly, and I'd have to go to like physical therapy or a massage therapist. And I'd go in and they'd go, do you want deep tissue? Do you want shiatsu? Do you want sports massage? And I'm like, this hurts right here. Just this, make this not, and like pay for a full hour massage. And they're doing the feet, they're doing the head. I'm like, this, I'll leave early if you fix this. So your client doesn't yet know what they're looking for. And in that initial stage, they're looking for what their issue is. So this is where you've got to do a bit of research. I teach this in my stuff out there, but you've got to do that research to find what are the words that they're using? What are the pain points that they're looking for? Yes. Because people are not Googling, man, I got to fix my mindset.
Yeah. And a lot of times we find that people think that they need help with something, and they come in for something, and it's a completely different issue that we're working with in the end.
Well, I'd say we get there. Yeah, you're right. I agree. Ron Esslinger is a hypnotist out in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And I love something that I heard him say years ago, where he goes, I do at least 4 sessions with my clients. Why? He goes, by the 3rd one, you're finally addressing the thing they should have come in for in the first place.
It's true.
And that can very often be true. So really, again, it comes down to, you've got to match up with them. What are the words that they're looking for? And let's go even further on this, because I don't just talk about building a niche market. I talk about building a micro niche. So if we can go that laser focused on a specific category, people who are doing intermittent fasting who want to lift weights, that's one of the markets I very strategically target. People who are endurance athletes following either a paleo or a ketogenic way of eating, which how much more specific you can get, which the beauty of this becomes, be the expert rather than the vendor. Because as soon as we go that laser focused, we can now start to identify what books are they reading, what websites are they visiting, what conferences, remember those? What conferences, 2020, what conferences are they likely attending? What forums are they likely joining? And this is where a little bit of market research, we're getting that languaging. We're hearing those trending terms, and that's what's got to be the names of your videos. That's what's got to be the articles that you're putting on your website, the extensions on your web page, the links that they can check. So it's where there's a little bit of market research to be done first. This is where the small rant on this is my hypnotic fat release program. Clever, right? No one's Googling for that. Match up with them in terms of the words that they're searching for. And then from there, then we begin to reframe, then we begin to pivot and educate. And now they're seeing the qualifications, and now they're ready to make that decision. And it's where there's a lot of us out there helping with business. I've just pulled the entire search history Virginia hypnosis and go, here are the top 1,000 keywords that are
Mm-hmm.
ranked. Here, just use that. So you want to start with the actual words that your people are looking for. This way it's matching up, which is a side note, as I know we're not teaching Google advertising strategy, but Google does assign a quality score when you put up an ad, where the content from the paid ad has to match up with the content that's on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, either it's going to get rejected or they're going to penalize you by having to pay an even higher premium for those ads. So paying for advertising or not, you want to use the client's words, which is the simplest strategy to get everyone started. Listen, that's going to give you so much of that information.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So when you talk about the Google and the matching up, are there experts out there?
Google?
You were saying Google, right?
You just said the Google.
Oh, when you're talking about Google.
It's
Not
okay.
the
I'll say the Facebook and we'll match up.
there you go. The Facebook, the Google. Perfect. When you're talking about that, there are experts out there, correct, that will help you figure all of this out if this is foreign to you.
Yeah. And whether it's, I've got that in my Hypnotic Business Systems program where I just publish the top 1,000 keywords and, search rank, or you can buy into software that does some of the market research for you. Ton of great options out there. Just look around. I hinted at the next point already, which is that of videos. If I ask my potential clients on the phone, or even once they've booked, why did you choose me? The consistent answer is basically of the line, I already know you.
Sheila and I were just talking about this.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
And it's the cool thing that the more you get into the marketing stuff, the more you start to hear a lot of the same messaging. And it's an issue of how soon do you actually take that advice. If you look at the Virginia Hypnosis website, every page of that's the local business, every page of that website has a video. And here's the secret to it nowadays. People do business with people. Mm-hmm. So we kind of come down hard on the royal we when it's faked. Mm-hmm. Welcome. We can help you with this. We can help you with that. And what I strongly encourage is you look down the barrel of the lens of that camera, whether it's webcam, whether it's even smartphone or other type of camera, you look down the barrel of that lens and you really project onto that lens. This is one specific person who really needs the service that I provide. And you speak with integrity, with sincerity, and the whole sales process. In my head, as much as I teach business influence methods, as much as I work with business people, I'm never selling. In my head, I'm never marketing. I'm only ever educating and informing. Mm-hmm. Or even better, telling a story, which then does those other 2 points even better. Mm-hmm. But by looking down the barrel of that lens and as if it's a conversation, and this is that segment where I get to kind of take the lead and really direct the focus of things. So people, let's call it out respectfully, what we do is kind of weird if they don't yet know exactly what we do. They've got a perception of hypnosis. They've got a story they've been telling in their heads so far. And that opportunity to see this is a real person. This is someone who cares, and show is always better than tell. Mm-hmm. Don't hop on the camera and go, I'm really good at this. That might work. What works even better is to tell some stories and ask yourself, what does this story illustrate? So some of the best performing videos on any of the websites that I have, whether it's on worksmarthypnosis.com or virginiahypnosis.com, it's that ability that, again, I'm speaking to one person directly. Mm-hmm. And just being human. Share a story, teach something of value, and this is your easiest of call to action. And if this is what you're looking for, the process begins with you. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of links on this website. Click that, schedule time to chat. We'll get to work addressing this issue very soon. Thanks for watching. Just simple, genuine, direct, somewhere between casual and professional, somewhere in the middle. There's less and less videos of me online now with the shirt and tie. So that opportunity just to be a human. Right. And video on every single page. I got made fun of this by a community that I run where they go, you even have a video on the location page of your website, which if you know the Springfield, Virginia area, I'm at the middle of a rather major intersection. And indeed, on the video, the screenshot, the play screen of the video is me doing this, which somehow, because you see this and you know I'm in Springfield, people go, oh, he's at Rolling Road.
You know, yeah.
So what can we convey through video? And again, this is where, when I talk business in my live events, you know, I mentioned, let me just teach this the right way. You all already know me. That was not by accident. So we can build that same familiar nature with our clientele by shooting videos, telling stories. And the beauty of it is, it doesn't have to be expensive. Turn on the smartphone, tell some stories, stick that on YouTube. Back to the first point, title the video with the words that people are searching for, host that on your website until you have videos on every page. Don't bother paying for advertising.
And that seems like simple concepts, but a lot of us aren't doing it. That is some great info.
Yeah, which is where, I mean, you can look at different video trainings that are out there. I've just published for my people, hey, here's the transcripts of all my videos. You know, but back to the beginning of this, the networking work that I did, the live talks, that was massively valuable because that's where I refined my messaging.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I got good. Anybody who's struggling with anything creative, hop over to Netflix and watch the documentary Comedian with Jerry Seinfeld.
Okay.
And you see him from the moment the TV show came off the air, on the road for a year, workshopping a new 1-hour act. And you see him struggle. And it's amazing to watch that this person who was kind of the king of comedy at the time, who hadn't been on the road like that. And you see him have to work at it. And yeah, just to see that creative process, it's a really nice, inspiring lesson to go, oh yeah, it's going to get better the more that I do this, which eventually, you know, the same messaging for the networking groups. That's what I can hop on Facebook Live and talk about. That's what I can say on the phone. It's about refining that message and making it easy for people to understand who you are, what you do, and what results they're going to achieve.
Yes. And the more you practice it, the more you do it, the more refined it gets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a few other points on this too is that the side note to I'm going to pay for advertising is I need to hire a search engine optimization company, which down the road may be a good idea, but again, hire that when you're ready on that. Here are the steps you want to have in motion even before you do that. Well, first of all, you can't game the system anymore. It used to be that the game was you'd hop on, and don't do this. You could hop on Upwork or Fiverr.com and pay for what's called backlinks. And they would put links of your website all over the web, pointing over at your website. Don't do that because Google knows what you're trying to do and they will penalize you and put you further down the search records as a result of that.
Google
I've seen
is
people
crazy.
who have hired companies and that's all they did, which that was the strategy like 10, 15 years ago. And the world has moved forward and some of these companies haven't. You can find good and reputable ones. You know, it's what I teach in my systems too. But what I'd really say, step one is that, well, let me define some of the nature of the business that I run. So Virginia Hypnosis, I see clients for a variety of different issues. So I'm not calling out one and only one specific thing that I do, which you could do. Instead, here's what I've done. I ride the fence between being the generalist as well as the specialist. And the way that I do that, if you glance over at virginiahypnosis.com, I call out in the navigation bar the top 2 things that I work the most with: stop smoking and confidence for people and business issues. Those are the 2 primary things. Then in the navigation bar, there's a other services drop down, which is where you see things like overcoming fear, weight loss, and all the other standards. You want to have a different page on the website for each and every one of these specific issues. And then this way down the road, when I've paid for ads for stop smoking, what was happening? This is the mistake a lot of people do with paid advertising, is that they're paying for the ad and it's just going to the homepage where there's maybe one sentence about stop smoking, as opposed to mine, which was at the time, the ad was talking about stop smoking and going directly to a page all about quitting smoking. My quality score was extremely low. My ad spend was low. My income was high. So first and foremost, you want to have a different page for each and every specific thing, which I know we're talking about what to do before advertising, but I'll give a hint of something else that I do, that people schedule time to speak with me that they can't just call me. They have to schedule a time to chat, which as soon as they're scheduled, what can we now do? My team now knows this is what they're coming in for, and we could be sending them customized specific video links. We could be sending them to the exact page on the website, because they might have just gone homepage, schedule a time to chat, and didn't look further. Now we can onboard that person even better. So now they're scheduled to speak, and even before we talk on Thursday at 3, they've already read through all the information on the sleep improvement page on my website. They've already seen the video testimonial from the person who stopped sleepwalking and eating and not remembering it. So we're able to run that business even better. But this is where Google content is king. The fact is, you want to have content on the website, video at the top, speak to that person at home. Even better, curate some data from scholar.google.com. Pull some research that talks about the effectiveness of what you do. We should all be working in an evidence-based approach than the nowadays time. So by having that there, this is more content, because even better, some of your search rank is based upon something called a stick rate, a bounce rate, which is the fact that they land on your website and they stay there. So think about this up until now. If we haven't done what I've talked about, you could be paying for that expensive ad, but then there's nothing for them to engage in.
Yeah, I love that. And if you notice, I'm taking notes, because those are some really great tips. And even the tip on sending to that page of your website before the consult, which we do, I can imagine decreases the time of the consult also, because they already have all that information.
Absolutely, yeah. Because now, again, we're not marketing, we're not selling, we're educating and informing. And let's call it out. I've had the rare moment, but this can happen now, where someone's going, hey, this isn't what I'm looking for. And even better, they can now move on to something else that perhaps they would find more suitable. But we're also stacking that expectation even higher, that just this is the person who does it. And as a result of that, that time on the phone, if I'm booking it by phone, is even shorter, because now they're informed.
Yeah, you're just streamlining, really.
Absolutely.
Streamlining the whole business.
You mean like working smart?
Working smarter, not harder. That's right.
We should do something with that. It might be a good catchy name.
Yes, yes. I love that book.
Work Smart Business, find it on Amazon. And there's really 2 other quick things that bring this all together, which let's set the stage for this appropriately. In the 21st century, people are most often looking at your information when they're not in a position that they can make the decision to buy. Which is the nicest way that I can say they're playing on their phone when they're on the toilet. So they're not always looking at your information when they're in a place where they can make a phone call. They're not always looking at it in a place where they can make a decision. It may sit in an open browser on their phone, on their computer for a couple of days. And this is just how we engage with media. My wife and I have been watching, you'll notice the phrase, have been watching a movie the last couple of nights. Because with 2 kids under 10, it's like, okay, we'll watch 20 minutes of it here, 30 minutes of it there, which is not how they intended it to be. But that's just the nature of how we engage with so much information nowadays. So your website should be selling one thing only, in my opinion, and it's the next step. Now, in the nature of your business, you should decide what your next step should be. So my next step, and the whole thing of being the hypnosis business guinea pig, if you want to see any of this in action, just go look at virginiahypnosis.com. It's what's actively on there right now. But my next step is something I've nicknamed the velvet rope strategy, which is that mechanism where people schedule time to speak with me and they basically fill out an application. So rather than anybody and everybody calling me, now it's just those people who are motivated and willing to put a little bit of time into the effort to then get in contact with me. So that's my one next step that I'm selling on the website, which is another aside. This is why I tend to say, well, let me modify this. If you want to increase the number of inquiries coming in, do not put your pricing on your website.
Right.
If you want to minimize the number of inquiries coming in, but maximize the quality, absolutely put your pricing on your website. So as of now, at the time we're recording this, if I'm always playing with this stuff, that's why I always give that disclaimer. If you looked at the scheduling link that's on virginiahypnosis.com, my pricing's right there. Package of
Interesting.
sessions is this other service is that, and they see it right there. This way, I'm only having that conversation with someone who's ready to spend that amount of money and move forward.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to consummate the sales relationship directly from the website. It's instead, I'm selling one thing, and it's just the next step.
Mhm.
Schedule this time for a consultation.
Mhm.
Fill out this form to watch this webinar. I'm making it all, and this is the key thing that brings it all together. I'm giving people a small, quick win at every step of the process to enhance that rapport, build even more value, build up that better reputation and expectation. So now, by the time they're my client, by the time we're on that potential call in advance of booking, they see the full value. So let's go back to the beginning of all of this, which by the way, the small quick win could be, could be an audio program that they can download that satisfies a specific goal. Could be, give my students a whole email marketing thing around, hey, here's a 10 email sequence. Here, just use it, slap your name on it. So by giving them a small quick win that by the time they've done this, it's a little bit of reciprocity and a little bit of a mental trigger that, hey, if this free thing worked so well, I bet it's going to be even better when I pay for the full service.
Value,
And
sure.
what's fun about this is, for anybody watching right now, think about those people you've done business with. And I say people as opposed to, I needed a new case for my phone, so I went on Amazon. I wanted to buy this piece of exercise equipment, so I, bought one used. Put that stuff in a different category. But someone who specifically you did business with them. And if you think back, chances are they did a lot of these things too. Here was the contractor we brought to our home. Why? Because he had videos on his website walking through some of his projects so you can see the attention to detail. He
Mhm.
wasn't just the guy. Don't be the vendor, be the expert who is offering a solution and helping you to get even more value. So if we now rewind back, you've got some opt-in offers on the website to enhance the rapport and continue the conversation
Mhm.
when they're off their phone and remind them politely to come back to you. You can
Yep.
use the email automation system for that.
Yep.
We've got sell the next step, make the communication easy and effective by doing that strategy session technique. I teach that as the velvet rope strategy. Individual pages for your content. People love bullet points, by the way. Here's
Mhm.
a cool, quick strategy for bullet points. Feature, so benefit. There's an easy formula for writing content. You're
Yeah.
going to learn my limitless self-hypnosis technique. Feature, so benefit. You're going to learn this limitless self-hypnosis technique so you can deeply hypnotize yourself at the drop of a finger to reinforce the changes we've created together.
Mhm.
So that simple formula, there's some bullet points. People scroll websites, they stop at bullet points. Even better, more videos throughout the website. If you glance at my weight loss page, there's in the middle of the page, more weight loss stories because there were more than I wanted to put just in the first video.
Mhm.
And having those individual tabs, having content information they can look at, a page on research, a page for your location, because that's going to get some benefit. And then again, back to the core of this, we've got to use their language. So
Mhm.
once we have that in motion, now we're ready to graduate to that level of going premium, where now we can look at the paid traffic. Now we can look at Google, at Facebook. We can afford to hire an agency to run it for us even more efficiently.
Mhm.
But you see, there's so many extra steps that need to be there first. Otherwise, we're throwing the darts and there's nothing yet for it to stick to.
We need that magnet. Yeah, that's some great stuff. In fact, this is a video and interview worth watching a few times to gather all of that.
As we like to say, let's cover 3 hours of content in 31 minutes.
I feel like that's what we did.
That's how I roll.
Thank you. That's great information. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that we haven't covered in the
Yeah, I'd say as with any bit of learning, you want to be able to learn from someone who's actually done it themselves.
Mhm.
So this can be one of those glitches of looking at, hopping on Udemy and learning from some $7 course all about Facebook ads. This could be the challenge of, looking at the info marketer in another industry. So Karen, I know you've got great information for hypnotists. I've got, the nice thing is we all tend to like each other. I've got my hypnotic business systems where I teach this all step by step. You mentioned Sheila Granger. The beauty of this is You book 1 or 2 new clients using whatever you've learned from any of us, and you've recouped that investment, and you get to keep running that system over and over and over. So, when you get to the place where the business is profitable, there is something to be said about that reinvestment back into ourselves to get better and better, which sort of the button on all of this, we were chatting before we hit the big magic red button to start recording, which was that I've kind of refocused things over the last year to go, you know what, here are like the 2 categories that I do the best work in. And that's kind of all I want to see right now. Mm-hmm. So by going through these steps, by building even greater value and producing the assets, and this is kind of that thing that probably brings it all together. Best example, we're recording right now on a Tuesday. Thursday this week, I have no clients because I have blocked the entire day off to produce videos for a specific new project. Mm-hmm. Bigger overall idea is that the most dangerous thing in the shape of your business is comfort, where you keep doing the same thing over and over because it just works. And it's that willingness to appropriately throw a wrench into the system to go, well, what happens when I do this? Well, what happens when I do that? So why is it that other person has all these books that they've published? Well, at the core of it, they've written them and you haven't yet. Mm-hmm. How is it this person sells this much money in online courses? Well, they've produced them and this other person hasn't yet. So it's that willingness to go inside and block off time to produce the assets, to make that investment, where we started with this, make that investment of time into a bigger and brighter future moving forward. Mm. So what I'd encourage everybody, go into your calendar on a weekly basis, block off a chunk of time to be producing these pieces of content, these assets, because that's what's going to help you to scale a business even further out into the future.
I completely agree. That number one secret. And when I started doing that and taking a day and no clients and really doing it, it made a huge difference in my business.
Yeah. This is why, as a side note, I started using a scheduling software.
Me too.
Yeah, all of them work, whether it's Acuity, Calendly, Schedule Once, use any of them. They're all pretty much the same price. Yeah. But the benefit now is if I'm looking at that time on Thursday and I see a stop smoking client for like $695 for a single 2.5 hour session, it's a bit of an adventure in that time frame. I could look at Thursday and go, hey, you know what? I could clear away some of that time and I can see this client. But even better, this is a bit of a trick to myself because I send you the scheduling link. You don't have the option to claim Thursday because it's showing that it's booked.
I did the same thing. And I'll tell you, Jason, I resisted that scheduling software for so long because I wanted to make my own schedule and I wanted to be able to work around things. And when I did it, it was so great.
Oh, yeah.
For the same reasons.
Yeah. Because now I send you the link with instructions. You schedule yourself in, and then I see it on the calendar, and I didn't have to do it. One, I also didn't have to sit on the phone while we played the game of, well, my dentist is at 1 o'clock that day.
Can you please do it at 5 instead?
What about like 4:15 rather than 3, 4? Nope, that just shows 3 options. Which one's good for you?
Exactly.
They make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a great secret. And what you are offering today for the free gift so generously, which makes a lot of sense to exactly what you've just been talking about, is that hypnotic solution formula. And tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so I know we're here chatting about business. Mm-hmm. And you can check out hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. That's my whole business training specifically for hypnotists. It's a community with more than 1,000 people in there now as well, all helping each other. There's something free to check out. Go to hypnoworking.com. So here's what this is. It's a little bit more of the technique of what we do with our clients. The hypnotic solution formula, what to do when nothing is working. So you've had that situation maybe with a client where you're going in and you know everything is clicking, but then the results are not yet there. Everything I do is based upon the idea of systems, the way that we've talked about what to do before you pay for advertising. I systematize for myself even the change process. And it's where over time, and my students requested this because I only talked about it indirectly, where I go, well, there's a bit of a system that I'm going through to go, have I done this? Have I done this? Oh, I haven't done that. That's what I should do now. So if someone's not, someone's not getting a result from this specific modality of hypnosis, it's not where I'm going, oh no, that didn't work. What's another technique?
Mm.
I'm pulling back to an even different perspective to go, is it something I need to go more direct or more indirect, more hypnosis in terms of phenomenon? And in this quick on-demand webinar that's free to everyone here at hypnoworking.com, that's where you're going to see step-by-step the exact formula that I use. So I can troubleshoot the hypnotic process on the fly. Because as we're here chatting about business, the one thing that drives your business the best is getting phenomenal results with all of your clients. So let me help you to get there even sooner. That's on-demand webinar. Again, hypnoworking.com. You can find the details over there.
Yeah, and the link is on the bottom of the screen here. And that is golden, having that structure and almost a checklist of what am I doing, what has worked, what has not worked.
And it's integrated with every other thing that you've already learned.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're the person who does regression or doesn't do regression, if you're the NLP or the I don't know what that is, if you've been led to believe that don't do hypnosis and hypnotic phenomenon, you should. It's this checkpoint list that I found different schools of thought. We all learn from different, principles of the process, but this ability to look at a thematic score as to what's there and realize, oh, here's something that I haven't yet done. Mm-hmm. Where I'm never looking at my client and going, oh, this person's just not motivated. Oh, they're not changing because it's probably secondary gain. Mm-hmm. I don't go there. I'm looking at every single client that you are ready and you are in the right space at the right time and you're ready to follow my instructions. I kind of get irritated when I see people doing presentations on dealing with resistant clients. I don't believe in those. There's more inflexible practitioners than there are resistant clients. Mm. So let me help you to become even more flexible in your process with that program.
I love that. I could have used that a couple months ago when I was seeing a gentleman. He was getting his PhD and was convinced that he did not have a good memory. And he just could not pass his test because of his memory. And I did have to in my head, okay, now what am I going to do with them? Now what am I going to do with them? So yeah. Checklist, awesome. Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And thank you for all of your tips and pointers on the magnet and what to do before we spend money on advertising. That was so helpful. Thanks for your time and thanks for being here with us today, Jason.
Awesome hanging out as always.
Yes. And thank you all for being here today on today's episode of the Profitable Hypnosis Business. Bye, y'all.